Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that you get something out of it. Lately I've had a lot of people ask me what my sniper loadout is and why I use the HDR. First of all, I want to say if you are a Kar 98K user and an SPR user, I am not knocking you at all. Like, those are phenomenal rifles to use. I personally have a lot more experience with the HDR and have a better feel for it, so that's why I prefer the HDR loadout as a sniper rifle. So hopefully you get some tips out of this that help you up your sniper game, so I'm just going to get right into it. So to start off, you have your monolithic suppressor that I have on mine. The reason why I've chosen the monolithic suppressor is, one, because you're increasing the damage range. So by increasing the damage range, you can get those really long, far reach out and touch somebody's shots, which is really great, especially when you're fighting at a distance. But you're also getting the sound suppression. The reason why I personally believe sound suppression is important, you already have to deal with optic glint or sniper glint as is. There's nothing you can do about that. However, you can decrease your footprint on the map by being a little red dot when your gun goes off by eliminating your sound. The cons to this is you do lose some of your aim down sight speed and your aim walking steadiness. Personally, I don't care about aim walk steadiness because I usually find myself either prone or behind cover, to where I'm less likely to be identified and I don't have to shoot while I'm walking. Now, the comparison for this for the lightweight suppressor and the tactical suppressor is you get that sound suppression, but that's really it. And with the lightweight, you lose that damage range. So, and you can see from the monolithic suppressor to the lightweight, you lose a lot of range with that. So that's personally why I prefer the monolithic suppressor. Next is going to go into the barrel. So I choose the 26.9 inch HDR Pro. The reason why I do that is because, one, you're getting more damage range. Once again, you want to be able to reach out and touch somebody with this gun. The next and probably the most important aspect to this is bullet velocity. So for those of you who don't know what that is or don't have a basic understanding, is when you are tailing or trailing an object, whether it be a person, a vehicle, a helicopter, you notice that when you're trying to shoot at very far distances, you have to go a little bit further to the left to get the shot, or a little bit further to the right. The more you increase your bullet velocity, the less you have to do the math on that and do the calculations to get a better shot on that target. So the higher the bullet velocity, the more accurate your shots are going to be on your optic. Then you have your recoil control. Recoil control is always a plus because you'll notice that as you're shooting, in a lot of different sniper rifles have a lot more recoil, like the AX50 has a little bit more recoil, and you notice that it takes you a while to get back on target. This kind of alleviates that issue by adding in that recoil control. Once again, you do lose some of your aim down sight speed and your movement speed, but once again, like I said earlier, movement speed's not that important when you're engaging at long distances, which is primarily what I use mine for. Comparison for the HDR Pro versus the bull barrels, whether it be the 26 to 17.2 is, these are primarily just recoil control. So while that may be good for some people, I personally believe that once you get a feel of this weapon system, you don't have to worry about the recoil control and getting back on target. And you'll see that not only are you losing your aim down sight speed, but you're also losing that bullet velocity. And like I said, bullet velocity is very important when you're doing those tailing or trailing shots on an individual or on a vehicle. So next, and probably one of the most important aspects that I have on my weapon, is the Tack Laser. I love the Tack Laser because it gives you that aim down sight speed back a little bit more, your aiming stability, and your aim walking steadiness. I personally don't care for the aim walking steadiness, but everything else is a plus that comes into that. The only con is the laser is visible to enemies, but if you were using this as a distance engagement weapon, there shouldn't be any enemies around you to be able to see that laser. Plus, it also helps when you're ducking behind cover, having that laser available, because that laser will stay on the wall that you just ducked behind, and you can kind of get an idea of where your shots are going to be if you keep popping up and down. So it kind of helps with that too, and I'm sure you guys have all seen videos that showcase that. The next is the optic. So I use the variable zoom scope. The reason why I use that is because all of these optics, minus the Cronin, VLK, and the Scout, will have glint. I like having this one because it gives you some of the best zoom capabilities that you can have. As you can see, the dual thermal power scope goes up to 12.1, the variable zoom goes up to 12.6. Now, the magnification toggle is obviously a given with a variable zoom scope. You do lose some of your aim down sight speed using this compared to, say, for example, your Cronin. but when you're trying to make those long distance shots, having a zoom scope makes it the easiest to get those shots on target. So a lot of people I know run the thermal or the Merc thermal optic. If you do use those, that's completely up to you. Same thing with the thermal dual power. Me personally, I like having a clearer sight picture with the variable zoom rather than the staticky feel of using the thermal. Next, we have the stock. So I used to use the Stalker Scout a lot just because it increased the aim down sight speed, and once again, this is completely up to you and however you want to do your loadout. I found that using the Champion for the aiming stability and aim walking steadiness just made more sense for me for the aiming stability versus the aim down sight speed. Once again, if I'm at a distance, I have time to aim down my sights and get a shot on target, compared to having the aiming stability for those shots. So that's why I choose the F-Tac Champion. Now, once again, the Stalker Scout is an amazing stock to use if that's your thing. When you look at the Hunter Scout and the Nomad, once again, aiming stability is improved, but your aim walking movement speed, that's completely up to you. As far as the Nomad goes, you're losing some of the aiming stability. That's personally why I don't use the Nomad. But if there's anything in this that you have questions about, please let me know. Going into the Underbarrel, I don't use the bipod because I'm just constantly moving. I don't see the use in taking up an additional slot when something better can fill that. So if it is your thing to like crouch and prone out and use recoil control on that, the bipod's for you. If you were to do that, I would recommend swapping out your stock for the bipod. Don't swap out any of the other things that I have listed. Next, and this may be a little bit of a controversy, but I will have to say this. If you're a good enough shot, you don't need the 7 or 9 round mags. With everything else in this loadout, be it the zoom, the barrel, and the monolithic suppressor giving you that bullet velocity and damage range, you should be able to get shots on target with the 5 round mag. Now, if you're one of those people who's new to using the HDR and sniping, maybe using 7 rounds or 9 mags, playing around with it might be beneficial for you, especially if you find yourself missing a lot of your shots. But I encourage you to play around with the basic loadout that I have listed before going. Now, if you get to a point where you're using all of this and you realize I still can't get shots on target, you may just have to play around with that weapon system a little bit more to get a better feel of it. If you do need to use the mags, once again, I'd recommend swapping out the stock instead of any of the other attachments that I have listed to replace with the 7 or 9 round mag. It just depends on what you want to do with it. You'll notice that I also don't run a perk. So if you were to run a perk on this, I used to run either Sleight of Hand for the faster reload or the Presence of Mind. The Presence of Mind I used a lot before I got better at using the HDR, because I realized that the hold breath time to get my eyes on the target and put down rounds was a little bit slower. So adding that little extra time of extended hold breath came in handy. Now that I'm familiar with this weapon system, how to lead and trail shots, I don't really need a perk to add to this weapon system. So that is my HDR breakdown. I will really quickly go over what I use. So this is typically the second loadout that I pick up, because when you're hot dropping, you usually want a gun with a either high mag capacity or high fire rate. On my second loadout, that's usually when I grab my sniper and start going to work. For this one, obviously, if you're going to be running sniper, cold-blooded and ghost is your best friend. I have the X16 running that as my secondary. I'm not really going to go into my X16 just because, like I said, this is my second loadout. I usually keep my primary from the first loadout and I run it with the sniper. Both of those loadouts I do run cold-blooded and ghost with shrapnel. So for my basic loadouts, I usually use Simtex or Thermite. For the sniper, obviously, Claymores and Bouncing Betties are a good tool, especially if you're going to hide out somewhere, whether it be a building or an area that you can have cover. You want to protect the doorways behind you to make sure you don't get snuck up on. The other thing that I use is the heartbeat sensor. That's going to help me to know every couple of shots that I take if I'm downing guys across the way, or if they are closer, you'll typically see me pull out the heartbeat, do a quick sweep around me, make sure nobody's sneaking up on me, and then I'll go back to work with the rifle. So that is pretty much my HDR loadout. I hope you guys got something out of it. If this helped you, make sure to like and comment, subscribe, and follow. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this, and I hope that this helps. Stop right here, stop right here.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Here, Richard, I'll give you...
Down one.
Wow.
Jesus.
Down two.
Been
Trying to
saving
cover
that
you,
one
His
up.
boy's coming right here.
I got movement.
I'm trying to res Richard.
I don't even know where that came from. Probably one of the mini buildings that are up there.
I hope the team...
They're
that
behind here.
Chris
I got
is fighting.
movement.
I'm pushing to you, Chris.
I got movement.
All right, well, they're going to be pushing to me.
I'm driving.
Can I run him
Out on the
over?
road in front of
I got
us.
movement.
Oh, no, he's over there.
Downed him. Again.
Nice.
He's going to have to push. Oh, that came from up here.
I got movement.
I don't care. I wanted to kill
Killed
somebody.
him.
Relocating the
Killed
safe
somebody.
zone.
I had a pistol. I don't care.
Downed one.
Nice. Nice.
Alright, well I'm flanking it. Big Bertha stopped right here. Dear God, why did I push this way?
Sniper on train station.
Where?
Somewhere in there.
Gas is inbound. Marking you
Yep.
safe zone.
Downed him.
Oh, Chris, I had him in the crosshairs. I'm sad now.
His boy's right here.
His
His boy's resin him.
Firehouse.
Okay, I got the long shot for that sniper. He's dead.
Yes. I'm getting sad.
They were trying to
Okay, go on
they
there.
were trying to shoot like
Ooh.
Contact.
Either they got ghosts, or they bailed.
Hey, I'm killing this most wanted. I downed him.
Oh, really? Nice.
Killed him. Most
Oh,
wanted.
Target done.
Definitely. Downed him.
Contact. Gas is inbound. Marking you safe zone.
Kill.
Tango down.
He's dead.
White plate,
Contact.
blue plate.
Plated one. Downed one.
Precision
Oh,
airstrike.
move.